So you chose a career way
Yes.
back in 2004 when there was no career called naturalist in India.
Ecotourism in India right now only means going to natural places. There is almost nothing eco-friendly about it.
Oh,
And a tiger pounced from the bushes.
I've never seen anybody jump like that from that spot.
The whole
you
time.
guys are looking
Yeah,
everywhere. You were just
everywhere.
there.
Growing up, I used to make really big eyes like that. so like, wow, you're a naturalist dog.
How do you differentiate between a good naturalist and an awesome naturalist?
You should like people. If you don't like people, this job is not yours.
But where is the den? He's like, yeah, he was on it.
We need people to like wildlife.
So do you think it's a viable career option now versus when you guys started off? Every time you're in any forest, there's one person who is really, really important, and that is your naturalist or a guide. He is a person who can make a drastic difference to your experience while you're either doing a photography or birding or just enjoying nature. This episode of Some Like It Wild, we have a couple who are very passionate about nature and wildlife. They are the trained naturalists and they will talk about why they do what they do it. Our guests today are Payal and Harsha. Hi Payal and Harsha, welcome to our podcast Some Like It Wild. Let me just put the things in perspective before we get into our conversation mode. The whole reason we started this podcast is about people and their stories and about their work, what they have done it. So that's the reason why I decided to have you guys here on board, and thank you for accepting our request.
Thank you guys for coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Harsha, you have a very interesting Instagram handle, which is called Kadu Papa. Why is it so?
Oh, what a way to start. I didn't see. Yeah, literal translation, Kadu means forest, Papa means baby. It's the local name for, Kannada name for slender loris. So two things happened. One, as a kid growing up, I used to make really big eyes like that. So at home and relatives, you're making big eyes like Kadu Papa. So that stuck with me. While doing animal rescue work, I did come across loris, and it's such an amazing creature, so secretive. So I thought, why not? I'll keep that name as Kadu Papa. And it became Kadu Papa. Yeah.
Interesting. So Payal, you are a professional mountaineer.
I am trained formally as a mountaineer.
Trained
Yeah,
as a mountaineer.
Yeah. I
And
didn't
then you
work
became jungle centric.
jungle-centric. Becoming nature-oriented was a perfect segue into life.
So Harsha, how you were as a student?
Very good.
Exactly as students should be.
Yeah. Backbench, but not with that attitude of a backbench, quite. The reason I was at the backbench was also to avoid eye contact with the teachers so that they don't ask me
Is it
questions.
because of that big
Big eyes. Slender eyes. So as a child and in college, did you have lots of nature-based influences that made you kind of go towards wildlife? And
For me, getting more into wildlife was Salim Ali.
Okay.
Interestingly, 8th, 9th, 10th, every year in each language, at least Kannada, first year, second Hindi or third year in English, we had a lesson about Salim Ali.
Wow.
Whoa.
So that was a mega influence on you. What about you, Payal?
Grew up in an absolute concrete jungle. When I look back now, I feel like my life was really influenced by very typical big city and sadly, even Bollywood. Very, very highly influenced by the culture that films taught us. But through all of that, my parents were both appreciators of nature.
Okay.
Taking us out on summer holidays, not to fancy places. We never went to a Singapore or a Dubai, but taking us to places and sometimes just standing somewhere and saying, can you imagine how many shades of green are there in nature? Or just very, very simple things. on rainy season, they would go on their morning walk, bring us back snail on a leaf just to show us and appreciate, Who would have thought, that time? But we did say, wow.
So, did you really think about becoming a naturalist, or it just happened? I remember you used to be in Bandipur with JLR.
Yes.
So, you joined there as a naturalist, or you were doing something else and then became a naturalist?
No, I joined there as a naturalist. Because
But you never had a formal training of being a naturalist?
There is none. Means
At that point of time, like this is 2004 we are talking about it. So you chose a career way back in 2004 when there was no career called naturalist in India.
No. So jungle lodges probably the only one, and maybe one or two lodges in central India had this concept of naturalist. But the guest ratio to the naturalists were very different. I think the only one place, probably the first place to start in whole of Asia outside Africa was Nepal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Royal Chitwan National Park, Tiger Top started way back in 60s or something. They started the concept of a naturalist in Asia. And from Karnataka, that time, I think Gundu Rao was there, who went there, if I'm right, minister to Nepal, he was invited, saw going on safari on the elephant back and the concept of naturalist. He invited some of them to come and start. That's how jungle lodges started.
Oh, okay. So that's the backstory of JLR.
Yeah, that Nepal actually was the first to start. The wildlife, professionally run wildlife safari in whole of Asia.
So with, I think you guys work for Taj as well, right?
We did, both of us. Yeah.
Earlier you had spoken about a story about how they started their training can you just speak about that?
So it was really the one-of-a-kind, game-changing training that we got a chance to be a part of. They partnered with a South African company called CC Africa, now called And Beyond. And for the first time, trainers of great caliber came here and trained us. It was a long training. It was funny in some ways because that training was like
reality show.
Yeah, it was like a reality show to some extent, where there's a lot of pressure of performance. It was like a roadies plus, I don't know, like it felt like that, except that no one was filming us. But there's like team building activities, but also you're out in the jungle, you're doing your walks, But they also gave as much importance to guiding skills and techniques. In the guiding world, I think was one of its kind, and so much so that it was a ripple effect through the country, where from lodges who had one or two naturalists or no naturalists, or a housekeeping boy will go in the gaadi ke jara guest ke saath chale jao, to having a team of naturalists who were trained for the job.
Professional naturalists.
Naturalists.
So that's how the whole industry started evolving when we talk about the field guide or the naturalist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do you think it's a viable career option now versus when you guys started off?
I think if you ask us, it's now is the time. Means of course that time there were opportunities, but people didn't know, and a lot of people didn't. Also, the other side industry didn't know the value of naturalists. But now we all know the tourism has grown crazy everywhere, right? And everybody's looking for naturalists. It's a great, if you're in the right place and a good attitude, it's really viable.
Great.
Yeah, it is more than what one could ask for. Of course, there are challenges, but which career doesn't? I think oftentimes
let's talk about the challenges. I would like to know what you like about your job and what you don't like about your job.
And I think there's also another aspect to it is usually people who like wildlife like us want to stay in the jungle and be away from people.
Yeah.
But whereas for guides, you have to love both people as well as wildlife.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's okay. So when I was with Jungle Lodges, the first few, 2004, I was new to this guiding, because before that I was taking school kids for the camps, etc. But when safari thing happened, I thought I was not a people's person. I used to see, okay, oh, those guests are interested in wildlife. Oh, these are a family. I'll go with them. I probably did a very bad guiding at that time. When but I did do some good stuff. But when I went to Central India, when this training happened, the CEO of And Beyond, that CC Africa that time, first sentence he came in the meeting and he said, you should like people. If you don't like people, this job is not yours. And that's when of course, yes, if you don't, then it occurred to me, you need to interact with people better. Otherwise, there is no use you might have fantastic knowledge about wildlife. If you don't know how to connect that with the people, because you don't like people, then it's all gone waste. Yeah. So, yeah, you should be people's person to be a good guide.
So going back to my question is that
Challenges.
What you don't like.
If we think of it honestly, what comes to our mind is right now from last few years, what we don't like is being away from our dog. Actually, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
We will talk about that. There's a time for that. So do you remember your first sighting? I'm not talking about you being a kid and just going and trying to get something, but officially, formally, when you became a naturalist, and do you remember your first sighting?
Yeah, but you have to ask Payal's first tiger sighting.
Yeah, let's start with the Payal.
That was quite unexpected.
So I was just at that point where I was qualifying to be a naturalist. So we also had to go to qualification sort of drives and things like that. And so I was like near ready to start taking my own guests out. And we entered this road inside Kanha National Park on the Mukhi zone, and fresh tiger tracks going up and down the road, So I was with them, and obviously there's a very good chance of seeing a tiger. And very confusing tracks. Hare tracks is taraf bhi ja rahe, pug marks us taraf bhi ja rahe. And what to do, and they're like, okay, let's switch off for some time. And we just wait, pin drop silence, listen out for alarm calls. और हम बैठे देख रहे, no other clue coming at this time. Okay, the driver decides, let's turn the vehicle around, है ना, फिर वापस चलते हैं to the other end of the road. So I was sitting on the back seat of the gypsy. He said, can you look out? So I'm looking over the end of the gypsy, looking out to see where the tires can go, like till the last point, till the tires can go off of the road. And a tiger pounced from the bushes. It was right there.
Okay.
The whole time.
You guys was looking everywhere.
Everywhere. And we were parked there, man. It just told you how an animal, 200 kilos, it's a massive bright yellow and black cat, can be right there in the bushes, trained people looking out for it. And you can still totally miss it.
Have you ever tracked a big cat on foot? Any of you?
Not cat, but Bandipur days, elephants, python.
Python?
Yeah. So backstory of python.
Yeah, let's go there.
So Bandipur, when I started, the lodge was very new. This is 2004. There were very few tourists coming. PCC of Principal Chief Conservator of Forest that time, he also wanted to encourage walking in the forest.
Oh.
Trails.
Okay.
Immediately after Veerappan was, they started trails, and I had freedom to walk in the forest. So there I met two interesting people. One was the assistant of Krupakar and Senani, who were studying wild dogs. They had a house there. A great interaction. I learnt a lot. But their assistant, Murthy, had learned everything about tracking wildlife from Krupakar and Senani. And we used to meet this forest guard, watcher, old-timer, called Tawargatte Mada. He is a Kadu Kurba, the indigenous tribal guy, excellent tracker. So we used to go, when we used to take guest or just me and Murthy used to go, meet him, ask him if he is free for a walk, and we used to go. It had rained. That time actually I didn't have guests, but Murthy, myself, Tawargatte Mada and one more watcher had come forest. It had just rained and stopped. 11, 12 o'clock, nice and sunny. So the slopes of the hill, Gopal Swami Betta, we were going down. Suddenly we saw monitor lizard tracks. And all these people around national parks here in South India, I've seen, they get excited when they see monitor lizard because it's kind of a delicacy for them.
Oh.
They got excited and they said, wow, illogide. Oh, inge hogta ide. Like this, it's going here, there. They went into tracking mode. Of course, they wouldn't catch there because now they work with forest department and I am there, outsider. But I had a feeling that they really like monitor lizard because how their eyes lit up when they saw, and fresh tracks, no rain, slush, grass, everything. And we were searching. Then there was another smooth track which didn't look like monitor lizard track. Anyway, we went, and in the grass we could see some scales. These guys excited, monitor lizard. They got ready to, probably they were ready to catch, I think. Anyway, they opened the grass like that. I've never seen anybody jump like that from that spot. Two of them, Targate Mada and the other guy, they just jumped and went back. Why? Because the python, it's not just who had tracked the monitor lizard. Before us, the python had tracked it.
Oh.
Swallowed the whole.
Okay.
What we saw through the grass, the scales, were the python scale expanded because it had eaten easily 3 feet long monitor lizard.
Monitor lizard. You also had some incidents or episode of tracking.
Foot tracking, I think and it's probably one of my favorite wildlife experiences. I was with a group of guests, I was guiding, and we were in the Little Run of Kutch. And we had the news of a hyena den site. I had a lovely group of people with me, very interested in all kinds of wildlife. And we had the local guide from LRK. And he drove us, he's like, Dekhna hai, hyena den. I said, of course dekhna hai yaar. So we went and he stopped the car and there's this huge ocean of Prosopis juliflora. You know, it's a big problem, right, in the desert. Very thick bushes. And he's like, we'll have to walk through here. And the den site is a little ways away. So I briefed my guests. All of us got off the car and said, okay, very, very quietly, we are going to go. And he knows the location. I wish I could get up and show you, but he's walking. We are all following. And he walks. He reaches a point. He gets up. And from far he's saying, nahi hai. So we said, okay, nahi hai to koi baat nahi. You know, I said, but where is the den? He's like, yeah, he was on it. I was like, wapas aa jao, please. And we left from that place. And I said, we will not do this again. We will, when we go to look for wildlife, we don't stand on the den.
Looking.
I'm sure he must have gone down to see, put his head inside.
Yeah.
So
And when he's saying nahi hai, I thought somewhere he's able to see
There is a den
animal.
and there is
So
no
he's probably
movement.
looked
Yeah.
inside the den.
But then we went back the following year and the same site it was denning again and same guide. And we said, look, yes, we'll try, but in a different way. So we knew the location. We stopped amongst the bushes. We could see the den with the holes in there. And we just quietly, motionlessly sat. The sun went down. Slowly it's becoming darker and darker. And the mother arrives on the den. And one by one, 3 pups come out. And they were completely oblivious of our presence, or so it seemed. Just to watch them play, interact, her calling them, her scolding them. And we just watched all of this till the last lick of light.
Must have been a lifetime experience.
Oh my
for
God,
your guest.
hair raising.
and nobody took a picture.
Yeah.
So sometimes you
watched.
don't
Usually
need
the
to.
best
no?
sight
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
nothing,
just
not
like-
for photography.
Yeah.
It was just for watching.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes guests are so obedient, Rohit. We had told them we won't make noise. Nobody took a picture because it would make that
The
sound.
shutter sound.
Yeah. And everyone just very, very quietly watched, we just disappeared into the background. That's what I feel. Sometimes, a lot of times you hear of memorable sightings. It doesn't have to be an elephant charging at you or,
So in terms of your guest, do you have to really do more like a orientation before you take them into any of the parks or wherever you're going, or mostly these guests are well educated, well informed, so they know what to expect, what to do, what not to do with? How do you handle things?
We very luckily get very well traveled guests at the moment with the companies that we're working with. However, there's no compromise in doing a briefing or orientation because you never know, number one. And also it's a good way to set down your do's and don'ts or house rules for that matter. Remember who we are dealing with. When we say you all are dealing with people, we are dealing with people who are on a holiday. You're a different person when you're on a holiday, right? Your guard is down, you're there to have fun. Again, like I said, we do mostly get guests who are very aware and very sensitive. But that doesn't mean you don't do an orientation and briefing. So do you have to? Don't have to, but we never not do it. Yeah.
I think we feel any guide should do briefing and orientation before taking anywhere on the wild. Some of the parks have a orientation center and guides try to do the orientation, but the orientation center is either it's far away from the gate or it's not planned properly. So preparing them should happen even before, at the lodge maybe, or where there's, if there is no proper orientation, you'll get all kinds of guests.
Yeah. Remember, like I was saying, we are dealing with people who are on a holiday. They are here to have a good time, not to listen to your rules, right? Many people will take it that way. It's about how you present these rules to them to say, "Aap bilkul hi chup rahenge. You will all be quiet in the safari" is one way of saying, and second saying, if we are quiet, we might have a better chance of seeing wildlife. Or it is about information versus sensitizing also. That if we make a noise, we are going to disturb creatures or even fellow travelers. I think the behavior that you're talking about is not just towards wildlife. I mean, of course, we've seen extremes. Like you ask us that what are the extremes that you saw, including throwing a pebble at a sleeping tiger because you want a shot of the face. I understand you've come with expectations. You've spent a lot of time and money. But it is also about saying that we are here to see what the tiger's doing, not to make it do things.
When you spoke about someone throwing something at it, I think that's a behavior that I very commonly see, unfortunately, in zoos.
Correct. No, absolutely right. Also, the thing of, like Harsha will keep saying even during our trainings, that we are also looking at wildlife from everything through the human lens, which we can't avoid, right? So you're looking at a sleeping lion and saying, it's a very lazy animal. It's not lazy. That's what it does, right? This is what you're here to see in their home, what they're doing. Correct? So I think this sensitization is through do's and don'ts, but put in a good way, in a sensible way, in a way that's receptive, that, okay, we are really excited to take you on this safari. However, there are a few things that can make our safari a really good experience. And sort of, it's about what you say at what time, right? Guiding is a lot about how you present things and what you say at what time to whom.
I'm sure they get different kind of guests, but there are a lot of guests who come to watch big cats.
Yeah, we
they
also
are
get
very,
that.
very focused on
the
cats.
Yeah.
So if you go and show them, oh, there's a serpent eagle there, there's a changeable hawk eagle, which I think the name has changed now.
Same.
Yeah. So they won't be interested. What the hell? Why are you showing that?
Not at all.
Yeah, Rohit, but the problem with that starts from what is sold to them when they are sitting at home.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a complex
And
problem.
all the way from there, reaching the national park, you have boards put up, internet, you say tiger. They think the safari is only tiger. We feel that whoever comes, they have to see a tiger if possible, because some of them have spent so much money.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be only tiger. We have to make all effort to show them the tiger. It's not that...
And we do.
Yeah, we do. It's not, hey, tiger is there, come, we'll look at serpent eagle. No, but you show them when it is right. I totally agree. Because it's a charismatic animal, no?
It is a charismatic.
Yeah.
animal. There is
And
no dispute
people
about
might
it.
fall in love with tiger and the forest also after seeing that.
After seeing
But
the
if you
tiger.
deny the tiger in the beginning,
Yeah,
you might
probably.
even lose somebody who might have got interested in wildlife.
Yeah.
So again, it's all depends on the guide. And like Payal was saying earlier, lot of us think, oh, what kind of guest we got? They're noisy and they're not interested. But it's in our hands, the guide's hand, to make them fall in nature, because we need people. We need people to like wildlife. It's only the mass can save wildlife.
Yeah, I mean, so I strongly believe, wildlife somewhere has to become mainstream.
It has to.
As you spoke
Yeah.
about your growing up with the Bollywood, I
Yeah.
think if people grow with wildlife,
Yeah.
things will change drastically for the earth itself. In your experience, because you guys have traveled extensively India, outside India, and I'm very sure that you have interacted a lot with the local communities. As you spoke about Kirubas, or say in Kana you have the Bagas and Gonds. The kind of information what they have about the forest ecology, in our language I'm saying ecology, but for them it's just a jungle and
Their life.
Their life.
life है वो.
Yeah.
Interaction with them. How does it help in becoming a good naturalist?
Invaluable.
Yeah,
Invaluable.
totally.
There is zero doubt in people who live with the forest and still use the forest. Those are the people who are fantastic naturalists. When we did away with hunting, we did away with good naturalists in a big way. When we stopped hunting gathering, we changed as a population throughout the world almost. And that kind of intimate knowledge of the forest, of how to set a rodent trap. To set a rodent trap, you know rodent natural history. You know how a rat moves, where it moves, at what height off the ground it may come to. You really know each creature so well, right? Because your life dependent on knowing that. You knew forest so well because you were also afraid of it. Now we've reached a point where even within the community, you're seeing a rapid loss of that kind of knowledge and intimacy with the forest, because even people who live around forests of our country, at least I don't know about everything else, but Harsha and I often go to these places, and the newer generation for modern aspirations may have been born there, but is sent to hostels and education very, very far away. The oral tradition of passage of knowledge, of walking with your grandfather or your older brother even, whole tradition of learning, not of hunting or gathering, that whole tradition of learning is extremely endangered right now.
20 years approximately you have been a naturalist, and more than 10, 12 years, 13 years you have been doing this as a profession. How does one become a good naturalist?
Join our training.
I'll come to that later, but I'm just saying that
Yeah.
how do you differentiate between a good naturalist and an awesome naturalist?
And also another very interesting thing, you guys also do it not just in India, you also travel across the world.
We do.
So
Guiding.
before you say you are prepared to lead other people into a new ecosystem, what is the level of preparation that you guys do to a new place that you're not familiar with?
Yeah. Great questions. We can take them one by one.
Yeah.
Do that.
So, I'll answer this first. Any place we go beforehand, obviously, like many others do, we also prepare ourselves, we read up. And if possible, before guiding there, we try to do our own recce trip or go a few days before. And we always try to get a good local guide wherever we go. So these three combinations, preparing, going there before, and using the local guide, that's how we manage to guide. So
Yeah.
we do. Anything else we do? No, that's it.
No, but at the end of it, we also know that having a good base of knowing our natural history. So our basics are pretty strong. And guiding is guiding, no matter where you are. right? How you present the information you know, and how you handle a smooth running of a trip, how you make it a good experience for guests, that those skills remain the same. You are applying it in a new habitat.
Actually, very important, guiding skills.
Yeah.
If you know the basics of guiding, you can guide anywhere.
So, given that you guys are in this field, do you think there's any, at say government level or policy level, do you think anything can come through in the future that kind of brings this up, brings this level of forest management, or include even this whole aspect of bringing good education through guiding and things like that? Do you think it's coming up?
Yeah, efforts already being made.
Okay.
The forest department at its own level are doing trainings across the country. The quality of it can vary from the looks of it, because sometimes you come across really well-trained guides and sometimes not so much. At the same time, sometimes I worry about professions like these becoming certificate-oriented. There should be training, but it need not become government, like top-down, yet another job, opportunity kind of a thing. This particular profession needs heart as much as it needs brain, in the sense of knowledge of wildlife. It needs love for people and wildlife, like we were saying, and the balance of both. That kind of brings us back to
The question.
your question
Yes.
about what's the difference between a good guide and a great guide. I think it is actually attitude on how I look at it. A combination, a good guide will have great guiding skills and a knowledge of natural history. That's the basic. A good combination of excellent knowledge and including field knowledge, not just bookish, and excellent communication skills. A way to communicate that knowledge to your guests.
Yeah, I think it also changes. Like somebody could be great at tracking animals on foot, and he or she could be excellent, but in your group, two people are very scared on foot, but you really don't care. Nothing will happen, come. And you're tracking. Those two don't have good experience, but rest of them will like it. He must be a great tracker, but didn't recognize their comfort. They were scared. Instead of managing them, sending them back, or sending them on the jeep, you forced and took. There you go. So it's about both animals, wildlife, and the guest. And seeing in both their point of view.
Great. When did Sufi happen? And how did it happen?
Sufi, very special. It's a COVID baby. These two girls had rescued this pup, and because it's a rented house, owner had given 5 days time. They can't keep the dog. So they said, please foster or adopt, otherwise we're going to release this dog. So we drove all the way wearing mask and all that to come early. Then Payal got down, picked up the pup. She sat back. Then I saw in the mirror, she was like not going to be foster, she'll be like permanent.
Yeah.
And we used to take her as many walks as possible. And one of the walks we saw, she just stopped and listening to the ground and not smelling, listening. And at the same time, Payal was also doing some research on termites. And the Sufi on the walk is listening on the ground for a few seconds and started to dig termites. So she could hear. Of course, they have great sense of hearing. We can also hear termites if we pay attention. So she was interested initially for all the termites, and she was also researching. So like, wow, you're a naturalist dog. After that, so many things she has found. Beetle grubs. She used to dig up beetle grubs in our pots, because in the pot she could hear. So then
But including civet, she's shown us pitta, she's shown us cobra, because just by seeing a change in her reaction, even just outside Bangalore, you take her on a trail. If a leopard has walked on a trail, she's a different dog. And if you watch these creatures, they will tell you so much about wildlife,
So I have a very difficult question to ask, and this has been there in my head from some time. Is talking about the ecotourism as an industry, as in India. I know that ecotourism is important. I believe in that. The way the ecotourism is happening in India, do you think it is right or wrong? And if you think it's wrong, then what is required to be done to deliver a great experience to the guest, and also to make sure that our forests are intact in a good shape? I know it's a difficult question.
It's actually not so difficult.
Okay, then it's great. Go for it.
Okay, can we go back a
Please.
little bit? So just some stats, quick.
Please.
Tourism in general in India contributes to about 5% of our GDP. 60% of that is pilgrimage tourism. Usme se bacha is everything else.
Okay.
Ecotourism is, first of all, at the moment, really tiny, but growing very, very quickly. So, one, if we are talking about whether it's good or not, or whatever the conclusion, whatever we feel at the end of it, there's lots of room for us yet to do something about it. We've not gone to a level where we can't come back anymore. Okay, I just want to establish that. Ecotourism in India right now only means going to natural places, going to wilderness areas. There is almost nothing eco-friendly about it. And I'm just being brutally honest.
Please.
And if you look at the luxury travel within that, it cannot be eco-friendly. To have a swimming pool, to have your private plunge pool, to have 4-ton ACs in each room, rain showers or whatever, indoor, outdoor, big flush tanks, it just doesn't add up. Your average village in Kanha, the consumption of water, food, and the garbage that comes out of it versus a 4-room property, the 4-room property will have a much bigger footprint. Firstly, everyone saying they are in ecotourism are just selling nature-based experiences right now.
So it is not ecotourism to a large extent.
If you define ecotourism as responsible, sustainable...
Yes, but that's what is my next.
Yeah. At the moment, there's a lot of room for improvement. We have gone to small places. Latpanchar comes to mind in Northwest Bengal, where we did a nature guide training workshop. Because of certain species of hornbills, it became a big birding destination. It's a hill country in Northeast India, one village, maybe another couple now around it, who are hosting birders. They already have, and they are only homestay based. There's
No hotels.
No big hotels. Not a single chain. None of that. They are already facing scarcity of water. There is not enough water for their own people in summers. We are talking about some of the wettest parts of India. We are not waking up to this at all. More bore-wells, still not thinking of rainwater harvesting. We are not thinking of the kind of construction. Employment for local people, no doubt about it. Amazing. Currently, especially when I look at the crisis that India is with employment, where extremely qualified youth don't have jobs.
Yeah.
We are probably doing our worst ever in employment right now. Tourism is a great way to get jobs, right? It's another industry that's employing lots of people. It's a people-based thing, right? You need service people. But again, local people employment is mostly at the menial level. They are not in leadership roles. They are not yet. It's happening, but it's really slow. If you look at the rate now we've had the tourism industry for a while, right? So we're still very, very slow in that. What is the ideal world in tourism? Community-based, fair trade in the sense of like Rumbak in some ways. Rumbak village in Hemis National Park, a 9-home village where since many, many years, at least since
20 years, easily.
Easily
15 years, maybe. 15.
Yeah, at least 15 years. where they've had a model where these 9 homes, if you go to Hemis National Park, all those 9 homes have rooms which they give out, and you're staying with a local person, eating the food with the family, learning about their life, living with them, heating your rooms with a Bukhari, and they take turns. So if you make a booking, if 4 of us make a booking, you 2 may be in a different home,
House.
and
Yeah.
we may be in the next home because it's now their turn to host the next couple of people, right? But almost everything you spend actually goes into the village directly. From the driver who comes to pick you up in Leh, to the food that you're spending on, the spotters, your accommodation, everything is
The whole
going.
village is getting benefited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that
equally
way.
fairly.
Yeah. It's a community led in a
Yeah.
real sense.
Yeah, and the rest of it, it's not impossible. It's not that if you're a hotel owner, you cannot do this. You cannot have a better equation. But I think we failed hugely in garbage management. We failed greatly in the way we use our energy and resources. Still, somehow we're not changing.
Also, the partnership between the government sector, like the forest department, acts differently than the revenue department and the tourism department. So you can bring strict rules in the park, but what about outside the park?
Yeah.
Okay, you're giving permission to build so many big lodges in terms of numbers, where so many people are not allowed in the park because the limited number of vehicle allowed, and yet somebody is
Still
giving
have the-
permission to build huge numbers. And the tourism industry department for government is promoting tourism without partnering with the forest department in proper capacity into the park. So there is no partnership
Right.
also, but we need tourism. That's one of the way people can connect to nature.
And I think even naturalists, they play a huge amount of role in driving sustainable and responsible tourism.
When I started out as a naturalist professionally, I was in my early 20s. When people asked me, oh, you're into wildlife, you know how you go back to Bombay, you go back home, like, oh, you're into wildlife. I'm sure you must be getting that too, right? All of you guys who meet your friends from school or college and, wow, you roam in the jungle and all that. I reached a point where I would be very, very explicit and say that, yes, I am in the field of wildlife, but tourism, I don't do conservation. I used to say that, I'm on the commercial side. And later I realized, hey, the community of guides in India, though however small, are actually doing education and outreach automatically through their job.
Yeah.
We are very interestingly a group of people who are these watchmen, not employed by the forest department, neither put in through an NGO, but all these people who are constantly watching the forest. There have been multiple instances where a guide has spotted a fire that was going to start and alerted the forest department, because our job is to roam forests, right? Or seen an injured tiger and told ki हमने देखा है वहाँ पे, or a tiger with a snare and alerted against poachers. We are all these people who are not employed, who are there for fun, but are automatic safeguards of people who have a stake in the forest. The forest is the livelihood, whether it is people like us who are from cities and doing this as a job, or guides living around the forest. The contribution of naturalists to citizen science. This is a small group of people who are able to have these impacts, in the world of science without being in the world of academics, in the world of security without being a part of the forest department, in being in education without being a part of school. I don't know how to say this. I don't think there's enough importance given to these people who are just working out of passion, of course earning a living, and you can't do anything on an empty
Without
stomach.
earning a living, it's impossible.
Right? It's impossible. But there is a unstudied, uncalculated, very interesting role played by this small group of people scattered all over the country. Ladakh se leke Kanyakumari tak. It's very, very interesting.
So imagine we are already shortage of naturalists. The number of people visiting, I'm not talking about naturalists or tourists going into tiger reserves. I'm talking about all the wilderness places. It could be for hiking, waterfall, landscape, anywhere, any green area or any wilderness area. Lakhs and lakhs of people go and come back picnicking or photographing. Tiny percentage of people might have impact of falling in love with nature because it was so wow. Imagine if they get a good guide where he or she talks little bit, how many will come back loving the wilderness?
That's true.
No, we need somebody to it, because otherwise what we have, lot of blindness. You go for entertainment, picnic, loud music, come back. But if somebody was there to tell them, oh, this is fantastic, okay, we can enjoy this place, but also this way. Look at this flower, look at this bird, look at this landscape.
Are you guys doing something about that? Because you have been in the space for a very long period of time.
It happened organically over a few years, but last year we made it formal, Nature Guides Academy. Every year we used to get calls either from lodge or forest department or some NGOs like Nature Conservation Foundation to come and train local people where tourism is going to start or already started, but there were no guides. So we went and started to do training. So when we do this training, it's not teaching a local about the local wildlife. They already know. They're really good at it. It's just about how to communicate that with others. And a lot of people thought it's about English, but it's nothing to do with English. Little bit of English, but it's all about guiding techniques and skills. So just last year we thought, why can't we start a academy? It's called Nature Guides Academy with another friend of ours, two of them, Narayan and Shri. We started Nature Guides Academy, and it's running formally. It's a company. And last year we did our first professional safari guide course in central India, Kana. Our friend who was a naturalist like us in same, he started his own lodge. It was just got ready, called Outpost Bara. So he was ready to host us because he knew this training. He said, definitely, Sinali experience. He said, why don't we do here? And this year we are doing...
So how many people you trained in the first?
We take only 18.
Okay.
Because then 3 vehicles makes sense. So it's indoor and outdoor. A lot of things are outdoor, but we need some indoor sessions. So again, they were like, some of them are already doing something called naturalist training, but it's purely naturalistry. Nothing to do with guiding.
Right.
I think I want you to talk about this a bit more, the difference between guiding and being a naturalist. And we can continue on the way you are doing it.
Naturalist by definition is somebody who is interested in nature, spends time in nature, observing it, maybe documenting it, maybe talking about it to others. Guiding, whether it is history, cultural or wildlife, it's about communicating that information to somebody else in a meaningful way. Maybe meaningful and enjoyable. In our case, we are in the tourism industry, in the hospitality industry. In our world, it's about interpreting what's happening here and now. Seeing a sambar and saying, this is a sambar, it is the largest deer in Southeast Asia, it is the favorite food of a tiger, is one way of, that's knowing your natural history. It takes so many years for the antlers to grow, only males have antlers, whatever. To know all that information, but to able to see a sambar and say, look how it is losing the hair a little bit here and a little bit there. This time of the year, late March and April, this is when this deer is now losing its winter coat. It's not any sambar anywhere or you Googling what a sambar is. That is guiding. That's good natural history interpretation. It is something you cannot get it when you're sitting at home. You have to get out. and you have to get out with someone who knows what they're talking about. See a track and sign, see a tree with scratch marks. Ye bhalu ke nakhun ke nishan hai, and I walk out. Or I say, come, guys, let's spend a few minutes here. It looks like this is being repeatedly used by the same bear. Right? And if I see a branch with a broken hive, and then I look for broken pieces, maybe I'll find broken pieces of a beehive. And to tell you, to weave a story of what has happened while we were not looking at this tree is guiding. And to do it in a clear, simple way where I do not need to be a wildlife biologist of sloth bears. And to be able to tell you that. And maybe to tell you that I have no idea what happened here. Let's think together. Let's ask the local villager. कि ये क्यों क्या हो सकता है? That is also guiding. To say that I've never seen this before. Right.
So this is what you teach
Yeah.
in your program.
Payal said something, here and now, which is very important part of our training. Two things, storytelling. Everybody loves the story, and here and now. Because like Payal said about the tree, which has got a lot of sloth bear scratch marks, you can say, oh, this is sloth bear scratch marks, and you can give all the information of sloth bear. It feeds on termites, it climbs up the tree, eats the bee, honey and the larvae, then it gives birth and it carries the cubs on the back, everything. But that's not happening there. Right now we are looking at the tree. You can spend amazing number of time, like Payal said, look for the fallen branch or look at the scratch marks. You'll see two kinds. If you visualize, one you'll see short 4 claws and another one you'll see long lines. The short one is when climbing up. The long ones, they just hold and slide down. Okay, so that's what's happened here. That's how these scratch marks. You don't have to talk about the cubs, number of cubs, what it eats at termites, how many years. No, here, what happened here and now. That's what we need. That's what we want in our training, the guides to learn. And adding that story, the way you tell it in a story format. So that's what our training is all about. Naturalistry, yes, but it's how you interpret is very important. Yeah.
So that's how you are able to contribute to the whole community, that you have now set up a formal organization, academy.
Yeah, just to, can I add a little
Please.
bit to this? So like you asked how many people come to this course. So one of the things about setting up Nature Guides Academy is we also want to make education accessible. It's a very high quality course. I can proudly say that. With not just us, but also resource people coming from across India to come and teach their subjects of expertise. It costs money, right? Stay, food, bringing these people in, sending them back.
Imagine 35 days, you have accommodation, good accommodation, food.
Oh, it's a 35 days course.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, it's residential. So everyone lives together, studies together, goes on drives,
walks,
everything.
Indoor,
outdoor, first aid course. They are all internationally certified. We know that though we are fair priced, not everybody in India can afford it. And we wanted to make it affordable. So what we did is, instead of applying for grants or going to
donation or philanthropist,
we reached out to travel operators. And the industry has been so generous. We did not have to convince people. They just understood it without massive presentations and said, give $2,000 here, $5,000 there, depending on what they could. Basically, with that fund, we make this course affordable for those who are really keen to learn or upskill, but cannot pay the full fee. And that's how it's a wonderful mix of people where they end up with so much peer learning also from each other and just sensitivity towards people of different demographics.
Yeah. So this safari guide course, 35 days, there is a scholarship facility because of the help from the travel industry. So we know if we say a lot of city people who have got money, they applied. They said, we'll pay the full amount. We want to come on the course. And we asked, what do you want to do after this? Some of them said, "Oh, I have time. I've got passion." I said, "Sorry, we can't take you. Though you're gonna pay full. We want this to be career oriented.
Yeah.
So only if they want to become a naturalist, he or she, we take. Second, with the sponsorship, we were able to get local guides around the national park to come to this course. So last year we had at least 4-6 park guides, including the girl guides, coming on this course because they wanted to upskill themselves. Though they've already got a job as a park guides and they're from the local community. So they got scholarship. And of course they paid small amount, but we could get Gypsy driver's son came. He also became naturalist. So like that we have many.
Yeah,
So,
and they got jobs. Those who wanted a job, we were able to. So after the course, we also help with employment.
Placement, yeah.
Yeah, placements. And depending on their level, so either interns or if they're experienced, whatever. And people got employed from everywhere, from Corbett to Rajasthan to Central India. They got placed in different places. It's wonderful.
This is really nice way of contributing to the whole community, because you are able to give them opportunity for the employment.
Yeah.
So vocational is something which is so important, and that's how the whole tourism, I think, will benefit. Because if you have a better naturalist come guides, the experience is going to be much better, and more people would like to experience it. And more awareness will happen about our natural world.
Yes.
Thank you guys. It was lovely interacting with you both.
Likewise.
And thank you for taking time out.
And I think it is a really nice perspective on, naturalists and guides. And I think also we take them for granted. You go to a forest, you have guides, they're usually there. But I think to know that there is a, especially with this training academy, that there is a conscious effort to upskill and really bring up the level of, guides and naturalists in India. I think it's a, like they're the ones you interact with the most.
Yes.
When you go into a forest, they're your primary custodians as you go inside. So I think it's great that you guys are doing this.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming.
Actually, thanks to you guys and also many people who supported this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.